Right, I'm gonna do a video about pansexuality, I think. So, pansexuality is a sexual orientation similar to bisexuality, but slightly more inclusive on a technical basis, although I don't think it's that dissimilar to bisexuality. Could be the same thing depending on how you want to view it and how much you care about genders generically. So anyways, pansexuality is a sexual attraction or emotional/romantic attraction or love for anyone regardless of their gender roles, sex or gender identity. So essentially it's bisexuality without the same causes. Like, bisexuality I think only refers to men or women. I'm not entirely sure about that. But pansexuality would pander to anyone, if that makes sense. So bisexuality would be to men and women. Pansexuality would be to people who don't identify with a binary gender or any gender at all. So that's the small difference. So pansexuality is more inclusive, but I think it's a confusing term, and that people who are bisexual for the most are probably also pansexual. I think there's very few people who are bisexual who would only be interested in men and women, and not people who are, well, so for example, transgender could be considered as not men or women by some people, or people who are gender neutral or gender interchangeable might not be covered in bisexuality, but I don't think there's that many people who are bisexual who would follow that view. So I don't see it as being that majorly different, if that different at all, to bisexuality in terms of the actualization of it, just in terms of the terminology and the wording of it. So pansexuality is more inclusive, just not many people are, well, I don't know how many people, but I think not everybody who's bisexual is aware that they're also pansexual, or they are pansexual, if that makes sense. I myself am pansexual, interested in essentially everyone, all things. I think that it's a confusing term for a lot of people, and it's a pretty pedantic term. It's a very specific term. Only people who are very, very deeply involved in gender orientation and understanding of that kind of thing really appreciate what pansexuality is. But I think bisexuality covers most of pansexuality, as I said, for most day-to-day interactions, just because not everybody knows what pansexuality is. And as I say, they probably are, but they don't know what it is. Why I'm talking about this is because I guess I want people to have an understanding of what pansexuality is. I think it's a good alternative term. It's a fairly, well, it's not a fairly new term. I think it was 1976 that it was coined properly, or did Freud coin the term a while back? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I think it could be one used to make a more accurate definition of people's actual sexual orientation. And I don't know, like, on any kind of website that's that kind of thing, or any kind of thing, when people ask, I say that I'm pansexual and bisexual, because not a lot of people necessarily know what pansexuality is. I'm also saying this to make people feel less bad about being bisexual or pansexual. Recently there's been a massive push towards rights of LGBT communities. Well, not the whole community. People who are transgender are still vilified for some reason. Quite a lot in the world. It's still actually a mental illness under the DSM-5, I'm pretty sure, actually, which is pretty fucked up, really. And they actually offer conversion therapy for it here, rather than hormone therapy and, you know, correct gender reassignment, which is pretty fucking weird. Like, I don't think it's necessarily because the government or the forces that be hate people who are transgender or such. It might just be that it's kind of expensive to transition, because hormones are pretty expensive and the surgery is fairly expensive. I feel like the government actually look at it in a way of it's cheaper to give conversion therapy, and honestly, not that many people care about people who are transgender, which is pretty upsetting, really. Rather than a thing of they actually specifically hate transgenders, I think it's a cost saving thing. Anyways, that's a totally different topic. So yeah, I'm pansexual. A lot of people are pansexual and getting onto those terms. There's a lot of cool things that have happened for this kind of community, such as the Americans. I can now say happily that America is fucking gay, because it is now. The whole of America's gay. The whole of America's legalized it. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I think pansexual is pretty cool. Pansexuality is pretty cool. I think you should come out if you are pansexual or bisexual, because now there's a lot of people who can come out the closet, and also once you come out the closet, more people who are like that know who you are. But yeah, I'll talk about some struggles I've had with it. So I'm pansexual, and when I was younger, I used to take the mick out of fags and gays. I still do, even though people know I'm openly gay, bisexual, pansexual, whatever. Because they enjoy it too. Like, it's just a bit of banter. Like, me and another pansexual friend always call each other dirty faggots. Because it's still funny saying that, and it doesn't mean anything between us. But I wouldn't say that to someone I didn't know well enough. That's just not fair. But anyways, yeah. I had struggles with it when I was a lot younger, because obviously people think it's weird if you like boys as well, and if you like people who have no genders. I think it's quite common for people to look at transsexual pornography as they got a lot older, but I was watching it from maybe the age 12 or 13. I knew I was bi or pansexual from probably about age 8, which is very early, but I definitely knew. So yeah, it's hard though, because everyone expects you to be straight. A lot of people use masculine and feminine pronouns against each other, and sort of there's this emphasis that men should be with women. It's such a big theme that you feel a bit weird if you're not like that. It's not even necessarily the worrying about being judged. It's worrying about your own sexuality sometimes. Sometimes you're like, shit, am I abnormal because most people are straight? A lot of it was to do with the vilification by other people, especially when I was younger. I knew that people might think it was weird. When I'm in certain workplaces, people think it's weird. Men particularly seem to think that because I'm pansexual, I'm just going to try and put my penis in them the earliest given opportunity. You know, clearly I'm going to find out if they're pansexual or bisexual first, or gay, and then if they're not, I'm just going to be like, well, okay, that's a boundary I can't cross. Done. Same, I think, with most people who are bisexual, pansexual, or gay, or lesbian, or whatever you want to be. So yeah, I had those kind of struggles. There's still a lot of in like labour forces, and a lot of male and female circles, like, well, more male circles hate gays, and like more female circles hatred of lesbians for some reason. I think there's some sort of inbred fear that they're gonna try and have sex with them or something, and that maybe they're a little that way and they don't want to admit it. Fuck knows what it is. Anyways, yeah, I had problems with that. I've told some members of my family. I've told my mum. I haven't told my dad yet. I'm worried he's going to freak out. I haven't told my granddad. I'm worried he's going to freak out. Not that bothered if he does or not. Just no point telling him. It's not that big an issue to me. I've got bigger issues with my granddad, and he's getting old now. He's not got many years in him. his opinion on it doesn't really matter as much. I prefer to spend my time just enjoying it with general stuff with him. It's not important to me. With my dad, I feel like he might be a bit ashamed and a bit like, oh, my son, oh, that's a bit weird. I think he'd be alright with it, but I think he'd be a bit weird. My grandma says she'd be fine with it. In fact, I think my grandma wanted me to be gay because she had some weird assumption that gays are all camp and they like to go shopping for Gucci and Prada. That's quite an upsetting opinion. It's like, gay people aren't normal. They're all just camp furries who run around, essentially. There's nothing wrong with that if you are, but most gay people are the same as most straight people, except they're men who suck cock, and I'm assuming it's probably the other way around for lesbians, to be fair. So, yeah, I don't understand that assumption, but I guess they've got nothing else to base it on. The most flamboyant ones are the ones who are going to be recognised. It's just that stereotype, isn't it? I've told a few, I think I told my cousins, and I think my sister knows or some shit. My cousins took it quite well. They didn't give a shit. I don't think my sister and my mum give a shit. Basically all of my friends know, and they're totally alright with it. In fact, not only are they alright with it, they embrace it entirely. A few of them are that way as well, so yeah, it's becoming quite easy to come out. But what I'd say with it is, if you are going to come out that way, don't do it if it's not a good idea. Like, if you're living with a very conservative family who are extremely against those beliefs, and you need to wait a year and then you'll leave and be in university, do it then. Because it might not be worth it for the amount of shit you get from it, just when you can do it anyway. But if you really, really are in love with someone of the same gender, and you feel like there's something in it, and it's more than just a bit of fun or loose relationships, then you got to weigh up what's more important. Is other people's opinion of you more important, or is that love between you more important? And I think the feelings that you have for each other are more important. So maybe in that context, it depends. If you're just having a bit of fun, it's kind of irrelevant. There's more to it, there's more to it. But yeah, essentially just wanted to make people aware of pansexuality. Feel like they can come out, feel like they can be happy being absolute faggot fairies or crazy dykes. Dyke is such a good word. I wish gay people were called dykes. I could go up to other guys and be like, "You're a fucking dyke." Oh, I love that word. I don't know if lesbians like that word or bisexual women do, but I think it's a fucking mint word. Sorry, bit of a tangent there. But yeah, that was my video on pansexuality. Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.